Welcome back. Now, according to wine export promotion body Wines of South Africa, in 2023, South Africa's total wine exports fell by 17% to 306 million litres. This as a variety of challenges weighed on the industry. Maryna Calow from Wines of South Africa joins us to walk us through the key factors that have led to this decline. Maryna, thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
Maryna, maybe I'm keen to start off by looking at what happened post-COVID-19. That was a shock for the alcohol industry. But in my mind, we might have recovered until we hit some roadblocks in 2023. Just help us understand that journey.
You're absolutely right. 2020 was quite the challenging year for the wine industry and, of course, the liquor industry here in South Africa. And recovery seemed to be happening quite well. We improved on our export statistics in the following years. But 2023, unfortunately, we saw a decline in our export numbers. And there are many factors that come into play when we're talking about this. One of the factors are, of course, the economic downturn. That is a global phenomenon that we're seeing. Geopolitical issues definitely playing massively into this. And we really do feel that, we are part of a global picture in this regard. However, I must note that the local situation at our Cape Town port does have an impact on a whole range of things. And at the moment, the most important thing is that we negate the reliability concerns of importers in our key focus markets.
I want to speak about that, just the consequence of not being able to move the numbers that you've traditionally moved and maybe even our reputation globally. Are we seeing it suffer? Are we finding that we have to explain ourselves, over and over again? And most importantly, Maryna, do we know if it's going to get better at the ports?
Yes, I think let's start there. With the hope is that it will get better. But there's a lot of things that have to happen before that can really realize. Reliability is a concern. What we've seen our exporters do is build in extra lead time with the importers and trying to somehow negate the issues in that way. And I think the important thing is that certainly our offering globally is second to none. The quality of our wine is second to none, and that is not something we will scrimp on or change on. So that is the most important thing. And I think this is what's really keeping these relationships between importer and exporter really strong, and hopefully will ensure that we can see this through and make it through to the other side. Our industry officials are consistently engaging with Transnet, with the port terminals officials to find workable ways around this. There have been a lot of promises made in terms of investment into infrastructure and the workforce at the port. So we remain positive, we remain hopeful that the situation at the port at least will change. What we can't be as sure about is, of course, the geopolitical and the geo-economical situation that is playing itself out internationally.
I must ask you about oversupply. Are we seeing an oversupply of South African wines, maybe here at home for the domestic market because we can't move, as many bottles as we could globally, or even around the world, Maryna? How are we faring with that supply issue?
In terms of supply, we're actually in a really good place right now. We had quite a surplus stock after COVID because there was such a long period of time that we couldn't sell alcohol locally, and even 5 weeks that we couldn't export alcohol. So that really impacted on our stock levels. But if you look at the harvest of 2023, we were down roughly by 14% on our yields. And that also plays into the bigger picture. What I can say is that South African wine consumers do not need to worry. We're not going to run out of wine. And in fact, I'm very confident in the belief that South African producers will ensure, first and foremost, that our South African consumers are looked after before exporting their wines internationally. This is the priority market, of course. So right now we're at a really great place. What we're seeing research-wise is that consumption globally is going down. This is a picture that is echoed throughout the world. And, you know, these kinds of negative export figures are being experienced by our international competitors as well. So we aren't alone in this. We are not taking this personally, if I can say so. This is really a bigger picture issue that is affecting all wine production and wine producing nations around the world.
I think it is comforting to know that it is a global phenomenon. With that said, going into 2024, you've mentioned the issue of geopolitics, and I think that's getting a bit more heated than what we had anticipated. So I'm keen to find out what your thoughts are just moving forward for the industry, but even our ability to export.
Yes, in terms of our ability to export, we've never been in a better place in terms of our reputation. So South African wine quality reputation, if you look at the critics, at the competitions, we are faring so well. People can't get enough of South African wine, and that's really great. We also offer our wines at really competitive price points. And one of the good things is that we have seen growth in our value of our wine in terms of exports, which is heartening. We have too long been seen as the cheap and cheerful country for wine, and that is slowly but surely changing as people are recognizing that they need to pay more for the good quality wine. So that's really wonderful. Long term, I think when it comes to the geopolitical situation, really one needs a crystal ball, and I don't own one of those, sadly. It's a very volatile situation, and we have to see how things play out. You know, we saw the impact that the Russian and Ukrainian war had on input costs. Things like diesel, fuel costs, packaging, all of these expenses really went up exponentially. And a further impact that is really more on a local level is, of course, load shedding. So this has led to major costs by our producers to install either solar panels and inverters or get diesel generators to really ensure that their wineries can operate as per normal during especially this critical time that we're in right now, the harvest.
Well, thank you for painting this picture for us, Maryna. I think very encouraging also just to know the sector's doing well, and wishing you the best. And hopefully we can keep chatting throughout the course of the year. That was Maryna Calow. She's from Wines of South Africa.